Hello,
Hello, günaydın.
welcome, günaydın.
How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Great. It's nice to see all of you. Hello, Professor Noor.
Hi, Tanya. Hi, Osan. How are you? Fine?
Hello.
Mhm.
Dear Tanya, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, I think that we have 1 minute left, right? So
Okay.
maybe we can wait people to join. I suppose that there are always technical challenges, right? As we had a few minutes ago. You never know how it's going to end. Hello, buenos días. Okay, I think that we are waiting professor from Italy and your colleague from Istanbul, Beykent University. Yeah, I hope that he will join. Okay, because there were some small changes in the schedule, but I think that everything else stayed the same. Yeah, we will see, maybe a minute or two. Okay, our dear colleague, Rocío Cifuentes Albeza, you're going to be alone or are we going to wait your colleague?
I'm sorry?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Yes. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, great. Now it's great.
Okay. Sorry. I thought that it was muted.
Yeah, in 1 minute,
one
yeah.
of my colleagues is going to join.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I think she was trying with this ID code and things like this, because we normally use another kind of platforms to the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, I can imagine. Okay. Okay. Okay, in this session, we will have only 4 presentations, right?
Okay, Teresa is here.
Mm-hmm. Great.
We are waiting to other guests.
Mm-hmm.
Mert Demir is here now.
Great. Welcome. Buenos días.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There is one more Spanish guest, right?
Mm-hmm. As I see the schedule, we are still waiting Associate Professor Laura Herrero Ruiz.
Laura.
I suppose that she will join. And the Professor Maurizio Ciantone from Accademia di Belle Lecce.
Laura is not going to join.
Okay.
Because he had classes and he couldn't join.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I propose maybe that we start with our session and then we will see if Professor Ciantone joins, then we will join him in order maybe not to wait, in order not to transform too much the schedule for the conference. So in the beginning, hello, good night, buenos dias to all of the participants. My name is Tanya Garmusha and I'm going to be your host in this online session. Inside of the conference of the International Communication, Digitalization, and the Society Symposium. The title of this online session is Algorithmic Visibility and the Political Belonging. According to the schedule, we should have 4 presentations. One professor is still not joining. I hope that he will join somewhere inside of our speeches and the talks. We will see. But in order not to waste maybe the time, we will start our session. So all of you will have 15 minutes. Of course, now as we are a very small session, maybe we can expand it. And after the session, we are waiting your question, comments, and of course the audience who is here and who is probably going to be joined are also welcomed and invited to ask ask the questions. So the first in this session should be the Professor Maurizio Centone, and his topic is Rematerializing Resistance Under Platform Governance, Algorithmic Stimulation, Epistemic Friction, and the Reconfiguration of Political Agency. As far as I'm familiar, he's still not here, so we will switch to another topic, and another topic is Educating the Digital Gaze, case study of screen use campaigns for minors in Spain. Authors are Associate Professor Maria Teresa Zaragoza Fuster, Associate Professor Laura Herrero Ruiz, and Associate Professor Rocío Cifuentes Albeza. All of them are from Miguel Hernandez University. Dear colleagues, the floor is yours, 15 minutes.
Good afternoon to everybody. I am, as I've been presented, I am Rocío Cifuentes from Spain, from Miguel Hernández University, with my colleagues María Teresa Zaragoza and Laura Herrero. We present Education the Digital Gaze. And I would like to start introducing the research. So to set the scene, it is important to note that within the Spanish jurisdiction, the use of mobile telephony and digital screens is still, for the most part, unregulated. While we do see clear policies within primary and secondary schools, a broader legal framework is notably absent. However, we cannot ignore the growing concern regarding screen-based media misuse among young people. The latest findings from 2024 and 2025, including reports from Code Studio and Digital Childhood, show an escalating trend that demands attention. Because the law hasn't quite caught up with this digital reality, public authorities have begun to intervene. There are increasingly partnering with private third sector organizations to roll out compensatory initiatives, effectively acting as a stopgap to mitigate the lack of formal legislation. To begin, we must recognize that the digital revolution no longer represents a mere technological trend. Rather, it is precipitated a profound structural transformation of our social fabric. This is most evident in the ubiquitous nature of mobile devices. Current data indicates that users are engaging with these technologies at an increasingly precocious age. Indeed, in Spain, the average age for acquiring an initial personal device is now 12. This shift has placed the debate surrounding adolescent mobile usage, particularly within the school environment, and the forefront of current academic and public discourse. In light of the broader European context and escalating social concern, the Spanish administration has taken a definitive stance. Following the announcement by President Pedro Sánchez, Spain is moving towards a formal prohibition of platform access for individuals under 16. This strategy aims to fortify the protection of minors by mandating the digital platforms implement rigorous, effective age verification mechanisms, thereby ensuring greater accountability within social networks. Our objectives, maybe we can move the presentation. I can do it or no?
Yes, you can. I'm so sorry, I forgot to ask you, would you like that I'm switching your slides, or would you like to do that? I'm not sure. Do you see the slides that I'm shifting? No?
Yes, but I don't know how to move the
How
slide.
to move them?
Sorry.
Okay, I can stop share and maybe that you can continue sharing. Will it be easier for you?
No, while we are
But you can manage, Rocío. You can share your screen, Rocío. No.
I don't know in Zoom very well, sorry.
Okay, Professor Zaragoza, can you maybe continue with sharing the screen, or you would like that I continue?
No, Rocío continues, no problem. Rocío continues.
Okay.
Our primary objectives is to quantitatively delineate the scope of screen prevention campaigns aimed at minors with the Spain territory. By examining data at both the national and autonomous community levels, we aim to construct a comprehensive communicate map of the period between 2024 and 2025. To achieve this, we are conducting a rigorous comparative analysis of current communication strategies. This involves scrutinizing the target audiences, the geographical reach, and the specific creative formats and messaging employed across various media. Furthermore, we are particularly interested in the digital life cycle of these campaigns. By tracking the use of audiovisual assets and the performance of specific hashtags on social media, we can effectively measure the impact and virality of these public health messages. This dual approach allows us to determine not just what is being communicated, but how successfully these interventions are resonating within the digital ecosystem. Our quantitative analysis is structured in two primary strands. Firstly, we examine the communication strategy of each campaign by scrutinizing several key variables: the geographical scope, the nature of the entity involved, and the specific objectives pursued. We also evaluate the target audience, the communicative formats employed, and the media channels and messaging used to reach the public. Secondly, we conduct a detailed analysis of the audiovisual assets as they appear on social media. This involves a cross-platform assessment of content hosted on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X, allowing us to capture a comprehensive picture of the digital presence of these campaigns. Moving on to our qualitative analysis, we shift our focus toward the more nuanced elements of the campaigns. Firstly, we examine the strategic intent, looking beyond simple goals to understand the primary objective behind the intervention. We then perform in-depth profiling of the target audience, assessing how the campaign seeks to resonate with specific demographics. This is allowed by an analysis of the materiality of the content, where we scrutinize the creative formats and the specific composition of the materials used. Finally, we conduct a thematic analysis of the discourse, investigating the core messages and the narrative framing employed to influence public perception and behavior. The research results in examining the current landscape of these initiatives. It is crucial to distinguish that we are not merely discussing social advertising, but specifically pro-social advertising, communication designed to foster positive social behaviors. These primary assets identified are educational greeting guides specifically tailored for parents and legal guardians. Regarding dissemination, the strategy relies on official institutional profiles, utilizing YouTube as a central hub with integrated links to Facebook and Instagram. However, a significant critical finding is the lack of audience uniformity. We observe observed campaigns spanning from early childhood to 30 years of age, suggesting an absence of effective or rigorous demographic segmentation. Furthermore, our analysis of the content reveals a pervasive lack of originality and creative rigor across audiovisual outputs. This is perceptible absence of a distinctive brand identity, or at the very least, a failure in maintaining cohesion between different campaigns elements. For instance, in the No a la Barra Digital campaign, while the primary spot is of an outstanding standard, the accompanying graphic materials failed to reach the same level of quality. Conversely, campaigns such as Señales que podrían decir mucho represent a more successful integration of creative efforts and visual identity. Moving on the strategic implications of our findings, it is evident that the implementation of rigorous and effective audience segmentation will yield a significantly higher impact among adolescent population. Consequently, we propose the campaigns designed for the adolescent stage should engage this demographic directly, rather than adopting a top-down approach. These initiatives ought to promote actions that necessitate the active participation of groups in question, fostering a sense of agency. Simultaneously, we suggest that campaigns aimed at families should be strategically confined to early childhood. By narrowing this scope, the development of preventive and educational manuals becomes substantially more coherent and purposeful, as they address the specific development needs of the childhood through parental guidance during the formative years. In conclusion, it is evident that a comprehensive strategic overhaul is required from public administration, acting in close collaboration with private third sector entities. Our analysis confirms an urgent need to transition towards more innovative and creatively rigorous content, pieces that not only resonate directly with the intended audiences, but also advocate for action with a tangible societal benefit. Furthermore, while a robust organic presence of social media remains a fundamental necessity, it must be completed by the strategic development of paid-for campaigns. This approach is vital to facilitate the precise, granular segmentation required to reach our diverse target demographics effectively. Ultimately, only through the combination of creative excellence and technical precision, we can achieve the desired impact in pro-social communication. And that's all. Thank you very much. We will wait for your questions later.
Thank you, dear Professor, so much for this great presentation and all useful information. I would like to apologize to you that the slides didn't follow your speech. It was my technical mistake, but I'm sure that everybody understood the key messages and the key findings. And congratulations one more time on that. I'm sure that after this, we will develop a very fruitful discussion, because the results are very important and very significant, because at the same time, the topic is very relevant regarding the media and the digital literacy, not just in Spain, but also worldwide. Thank you for now. We will continue with the presentation. So keep in mind your questions, or put them, somewhere on the paper in order not to forget them. And after all the presentation, we will continue with the discussion. And I'm sure that all of you will have some questions for our dear presenters. Okay, now let's get back to the schedule. After our dear colleagues from Spain, the next topic will be digital and the media literacy in Croatia, overview, trends, and the challenges. I will try to share my presentation with you. Please let me know if you don't see something, because sometimes when we use the Zoom, when I share the presentation link or actually slide stops maybe on the beginning or somewhere in the middle. So please send us feedback, because we usually don't know what you see if we don't get the right information. I will try to share the presentation, my presentation, and all other presentations that are coming. Please try to share it by yourself. I think it will be much more easier and useful for you. Okay, let's see. I hope that you will see this. Do you see?
Yes.
Yes, great. Okay, now I will try to expand it a little bit and hope that it's not going to be stopped on the headline. Okay, internet traffic is a little bit slower, probably because of the geographical distance, but okay, is it better now? Yes, okay. I'm watching your verbal and nonverbal communication in order to read the messages. I hope that everything will be okay. Okay, this topic is actually...
Tanya, sorry.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you can make it full screen with F5.
I did it. You don't see the full screen?
Oh, okay then.
Okay, you don't see it?
I mean, we're seeing it, but it's not full screen.
Okay, I will try it again, because on my screen it is full screen. Let's do it again. Now?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, yeah, full
Thank you so
screen now.
much for the feedback. Okay, this topic is actually, I would say, good comparison with the topic from our colleagues from Spain, and I'm sure that we would have a lot of things in common or to share. Digital media literacy in Croatia, overviews, trends, and the challenges. So what we are going to talk about, in the beginning, I would like maybe to explain or to distinguish the concepts of the digital and the media literacy. Is it the same or is it different? This was one of the biggest dilemma that I had before to prepare the topic for this conference, because it is not easy to decide what to put the focus on the digital component or on the media component, to look them together or separately. Then I will show you the results of the latest national survey in Croatia regarding media habits of children and the parents. The results are quite warning and a little bit disappointing. At the same time, talking about digital and the media literacy, we cannot just focus on the children, on the educational system. We should also focus on the institutional approach, and you will see what are the challenges that the Croatian institutions are facing in this moment. One of them is definitely usage of the AI tools, especially in the educational purposes, and how does the young people and the educators are reflecting and responding to that challenge. In the end of the presentation, I will show you the few national campaigns gained by different stakeholders whose main missions were to raise the awareness about digital and the media literacy among not just young people, but also elderly and ordinary citizens. And instead of conclusion, you will be able to see a few recommendations. I hope that you can see this slide, and this chart. Can you?
Yes, everything is fine.
Great. Okay. This slide, as an introductory one, would like to present you one of the paradoxes that we are facing. On one side, it's a good result for Croatia that the level of the digital skills, according to the data from the end of the 2025, regarding Croatia, are above the European average. So as you can see on this chart, we are in a group of the countries like Austria, Germany, and some Scandinavian countries. But at the same time, we have a paradoxical situation that there is never a less investment in research regarding the digital technologies, AI. So those research who are actually present in this moment, they are relying only on the technical development, infrastructure. They are not focusing on the human resources or skills. So this is something there where we see the spaces for the progress. At the same time, in the last 6 months, in Croatia, we are facing with the increase of the number of the frauds whose main targets are elderly people and at the same time Generation Z. So we have two groups who are totally different regarding media habits, usage of the digital technology and the equipment, who are totally different regarding the knowledge and the skills, but at the same time they are dominantly vulnerable and the victims of online fraud. That's why we need to emphasize the importance of the digital and the media literacy. Is it the same or is it different? It's not easy to answer on that question. On this slide, I put a chart that was created by Renée Hobbs. She is the leading communication and the media expert in the EU regarding media literacy. And I think that she very well illustrates this on this chart, where you should compare and contrast those two concepts, because media literacy is a concept that is widespread and it includes different types of the literacy, like audio literacy, visual literacy, technical literacy, statistical literacy, etc. And at the same time, digital literacy is dominantly observed through the digital equipment and your capabilities to deal with the technology. But Renée Hobbs on this chart showed that there were overlapping areas that we should be aware of, like, for example, how to critical analyzing the texts and the media production and the content, no matter are we talking about the mainstream media or digital media. At the same time, Renée Hobbs emphasizes that there is a question of the creation of the content. Who is the owner of the content? What was the authorship? How you use the media for the self-expression? Then she emphasizes the importance of the awareness. What are you sharing? How are you sharing? Who is included in your posts, in the messages? And how are you balancing between the benefits and the risks of being included in the social media, in the digital equipment, in the digital environment? In comparison with her definition, I also chose the definition of Croatian authors Bilic and Brajdic Rukovic from 2023, where they emphasize that media literacy should be seen as a social practice, not just as a set of individual skills. And I really liked it because I don't think that we should only rely through the individual prism, because the society and the educational institution are also responsible. How are we going to implement those two concepts in daily activities? Because, as they said, the people who are less skilled in the internet searching, they are less critical at the same time regarding the content, regarding the biases, and they are not able to recognize the dangers and the risk that are coming from the digital platforms. That's why here in Croatia, we have some data that really are warning and at the same time disturbing regarding the children, their habits, and the parents' inclusion in the digital environment. Here on this slide, you can see the results from the latest national survey that was published in the December 2025. This research, actually, this survey was conducted together with the EU Kids Online Network. It is the second national survey in Croatia. The first was conducted in 2017, and the results from that point of view till 2025 are much worse. In this survey, there were more than 1,700 children who participated in the year among 10 and 16, and they were conducted in 37 secondary and the primary schools. Among the children, the parents also were participants. So on this slide, you can see the main emphasis. I just put, the main summary regarding the data, internet access, children activities on the internet, how they use AI tools, what are their experiences with cyberbullying and the harassment, and what is the role of the parents in mediating children's activities online. Regarding the internet access, in a comparison with 2017, majority of Croatian children and the youth have the access of the internet, but the access has changed. They are now dominantly accessing to the internet during the class, and almost 1/3 of the children do that during the night. Activities remain almost the same, but on the first place come listening to music and then playing the games. Educational activities go a little bit down. For the first time, research analyzes the usage of the AI tools because they became inevitable part of children growing up. But it's very indicative to see that children dominantly use AI tools to talk about the physical health or fitness, which might be very challenging, especially in the age of pre-adolescence. And almost half of them are using AI tools to writing essays or stories for school. Most disturbing data are relying on the experiences regarding cyberbullying and the harassment. As you can see, majority, actually 1/3 of them were experienced from some form of the harassment, but almost 1/3 of them received messages from the strangers, and more than 12% of children received sexually connotative messages. The role of the parents seems to be very marginalized because more than 40% of parents never discuss about mistakes that their children did in the online environment. More than 50% of them never actually set the rules of the behavior on the internet, and almost 58% of them do not practice joint activities online with their children. Very significant number that are reflecting the current state and the situation with the media and the digital literacy in Croatia. At the same time, this chart, who is in Croatian, but actually illustrates the number of the people who have never been using internet in Europe. According to this data, Croatia is also on the top, which is, a little bit in a confrontation with the first slide, where you will be able to see that Croatian citizens are, above European average when we talk about the digital skills. But at the same time, we are on the top of the EU regarding the amount of population who have never used the internet. That's why we need to more incorporate the concept of the digital inclusion. In those group of those who never been used the internet are dominantly elderly people, because they're more socially excluded, they're more lonely, especially people above 70 or 75. At the same time, they're dominantly the target of the online frauds and the scams that we are witnessing in the last 6 months. Why? Because they are surfacing with a cognitive decline. At the same time, they are vulnerable, they're naive, and they don't have enough digital skills, how to use digital media and how to recognize the frauds, and how to actually raise the self-defensive mechanism in order to combat with them. But not just the elderly people. In the last 3 months, according to the data of the Ministry of the Interior of the Republic of Croatia, and especially police officers from capital city, Zagreb, there are more and more members of the Generation Z who became victims of online frauds. This was also the research that was conducted by Deloitte, who confirmed the police statistics. Why? Because Generation Z is over-connected. They don't get rid of the phones even when they go to sleep. So they're, always wired. But at the same time, they're attracted by the promises on how to get easy money, or they're seduced by people who want to misuse them with the false promises in order to help them to resolve mental problems. If we look at the statistics, we see that this is a huge and problem in Croatian society, because the share of the cybercrime is growing. Last year, we had more than 2,000 frauds, and estimated damage was more than 18 million euros. Which is not, something that we should omit. So then we get back, what is the role of the institution and the parents, as we were able to see that the parents are not included in the, media education and the digital education of their children. Here I put the chart of one of the researchers, Marcia Konar, who actually tried to show us that we are constantly on some kind of a crossroads, how to teach and how to educate young people and at the same time elderly people, and what approach to use. Should it be more formal or informal? Should it be intentional or unexpected? She actually in her research emphasized that we are more relying and more through the life, relying on the informal and unexpected experiences. I suppose that you would agree, because the dominant knowledge that we are actually applying and that we are searching are coming from the different sources. That's why some Croatian institutions try to respond maybe in a concrete way. For example, from the September of the 2025, in one high school in Zagreb, the digital and the media literacy became an obligatory course, which wasn't the case in the previous years. The situation is a little bit better when we talk about a higher education institution, especially among the universities who are trying to educate future media experts, engineers, or teachers, because they have the obligatory courses regarding media and the digital literacy. But the media and the digital literacy still should be obligatory as a course, or maybe as something that should be introduced young people with challenges that are surfacing in everyday life and the activities. But regarding the challenges that we are facing right now is something related to the AI and the implementation. Universities started to create the guidelines and the policies, but unfortunately, there is no strategic approach how to implement AI tools in the class, in the classroom, and in the educational process. Here you can see that according to the data of the research who were gained in January of 2026, how AI is implemented in Croatian schools, you can see that we analyze the perspective of the teachers and the perspective of the children and the youth, and the both groups are open and motivated to use AI, but the both group emphasize that they don't have enough support how to do that, how to feel more comfortable, and at the same time they search more examples of the good practices. And at the same time, what is a good indicator of this result is that they are highly aware of the ethical risks and the need to verifying the information. Teachers are maybe more aware than the students, but we see this maybe as a space to improve the current situation in order how to maybe shift the neutrality of the students to the strength for enhancing their competences regarding digital skills, especially how to implement AI tools responsibly in everyday school activities. In the further slides, I would like to show you the examples of good practices of the different institutions and the stakeholders who are now trying to introduce the campaigns, how to use not just AI tools, but how to empower media and the digital literacy among young children and the elderly people. First example that you can see on the slide is the campaign of Croatian Telecom, Croatian T-Mobile. They conducted before this campaign one national survey in order to see what types of AI user you can find in Croatia, and the results were quite interesting. So they conducted research that showed that you can see the four types. One of them are cautious observers, the second one are resourceful practitioners, AI adventurers, and AI enthusiasts. That research actually gave the fundamental for the TCOM in Croatia to develop an online campaign and a series of free online workshops how to use the AI tools. The biggest strength of this campaign is that the online webinars and the workshops are in Croatian language, because the majority of the AI tools and the webinars and seminars are in English, and elderly people actually don't use English in that manner how young people do that. So the main goal was to strengthen user skills to be competitive on the job market, but at the same time, how to be confident in searching for information online. Then what else that you can see on the next slide, This was the campaign. It is still actually current, of the Zagreb Bank. It is the biggest national bank in Croatia. The slogan of this campaign, translated in English, was "Keep an eye out for scams." As I told you in the introductory part, the biggest targets of the online frauds and the scams are elderly people. Dominantly, you have the persona like American soldier who would like to better inform you or to be familiar with you, but the only thing that you need to just to send them 50 or 60,000 euros. And unfortunately, elderly people do that because they're lonely. They are mostly victims of the romantic fraud. They are searching friends, society, new love, and unfortunately, their bank account very soon, remains empty. So, National Bank actually felt responsibility in corporative communication in order to create the digital platform where you can find all the data, how to recognize most common frauds, how to respond on them, how to protect yourself, because among those two groups of the society and the people, the third group are the business community. In the last few months, we witnessed a lot of financial frauds because of the naivety or speed of the people in the business community who just clicked on the phishing or wishing campaigns and emptied the organizational bank account. So the most common types of business fraud are actually business email cryptid fraud, then CAO fraud, invoice scams, and the fraud in the form of false data updates and the mobile banking upgrades. Our national bank, according to this campaign, is trying to inform all the citizens about the types of the fraud and raising not just your awareness of digital literacy, but in order to establish the financial literacy among dominant people. And the last example comes from the university. So you were able to see that we have three types of the stakeholders. We have telecom operator, we have national bank, and universities as the organization who recognize their responsible role into the society. University for the third age is a concept that is very developed on the Western European countries, but at the same time in the USA. This is the way how you can include the people who get retired and raise their awareness and the skills, not just regarding digital and media literacy, but regarding all the topics that they would like to know more. This is something that is omnipresent at the University of Zagreb, but for this presentation, I have chosen the latest campaign from the University of Dubrovnik. Why? Because through this campaign, University of Dubrovnik is trying to balancing the gap that is, persisting among the north and the south of the country regarding digital skills and the competences. And what is the specificity of this course for the elderly people? That it is designed like a learning space. There is no pressure, there is no deadlines. You will receive the certificate, you will receive even an ECTS, but you won't receive the final grade. But you will get the chance to introduce yourselves with the knowledge and with the skills that you weren't be able to introduce yourself during your working career. And one of the goals is definitely to enhance the digital and the media literacy skills. So this is the way how to keep the people who get retired, that they stay and remain literate. And in the end, as you were able to see, it's a very wide topic. And instead of conclusion, maybe just to emphasize few recommendations like what is necessary. When we talk about the Croatia, it is very important to implement digital and the media literacy as definitely mandatory subject from primary school. It is important to strengthen media competences among the parents because they're the weakest link in this moment. At the same time, regarding educational institution, we need to create clear strategic plans how to introduce AI in our schools, universities, because otherwise we have just the examples of good practices, which is not enough. And at the same time, this week, where is actually the week of ICDC conference, is also Global Week of Intergenerational Solidarity. And a nice occasion how to balancing the gap that is existing between elderly people and the younger generation, Generation Z and the Alpha, and definitely continue to develop of open and the free educational programs for all people who are interested and different stakeholders in order to raise the awareness of a different type of the literacy. So this is the end. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that there will be the questions after this. I hope that I didn't break time too much, because sometimes it's hard to stop, right? Okay, and then we will continue with the next topic. Nobody checks the facts, fragmented realities, and the transformation of deliberative discourse in the post-truth politics. The author is research assistant Mert Demeter from Istanbul Beykent University. Dear colleague, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I am gonna share my presentation now. Okay. Can you hear it? Not sure. Everything is okay now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, my name is Mert Demir. I am from Istanbul Beykent University, and I am a PhD student at Istanbul Marmara University. Today, I will be presenting a study on political communication in digital spaces. The title of the paper is Nobody Checks the Facts, Fragmented Realities and the Transformation of Deliberative Discourse in Post-Truth Politics. Let me begin with a simple observation. In February 2026, Donald Trump delivered the State of the Union address. CNN broadcast it live on YouTube. Beneath that video, nearly 2,000 people left comments. And when I look closely at what those people wrote, something important becomes visible. The term post-truth is widely used, but often misunderstood. It's not simply about the spread of false information. Post-truth describes a deeper shift, a condition in which objective facts matter less than emotional identification and group loyalty. Truth claims are no longer mainly evaluated. They are used as signals of identity. Who you trust tells others who you are. This study asks, can we see that shift in real data? And what does it mean for democratic deliberation? To answer this, I draw on 4 theoretical perspectives. Let me walk you through them. The first perspective is Habermas and his concept of the deliberative public sphere. For Habermas, democracy requires more than elections. It requires rational critical debate, citizens reasoning together, guided by the force of the better argument, not by emotion or authority. In this study, Habermas works as a yardstick, a standard against which I measure what actually happens in digital common spaces. In his 2023 work, he also warns that without editorial filters, platforms do not create a unified public sphere. They produce echo chambers closed off to disagreement. Second, McIntyre concept of post-truth. Post-truth is not simply lying. A liar still acknowledges that truth exists. Post-truth is more coercive. It attacks the very standards by which I evaluate truth claims. Inconvenient facts are not refuted. They are dismissed. The goal is not persuasion through evidence. It's ideological dominance. McIntyre gives us the diagnostic vocabulary for what I am testing. And then Sunstein and his account of echo chambers and algorithmic creation. Modern platforms give users total filtering power. People build information environments and that confirm only what they already believe. The result is fragmentation. Citizens living in parallel worlds drifting toward more extreme versions of their existing views. Sunstein explains why the patterns I find are not accidental. They are built into the platform architecture. And finally, Jung-Chul Han and his concept of infocracy. Han goes furthest. Digitization doesn't just fragment the public sphere. It corrodes the very conditions under which truth can be evaluated at all. The problem is not that people lie more. It is that the distinction between truth and falsehood is collapsing. People are not simply misinformed. They are becoming indifferent to the questions of what is true. Han gives us the deepest layer of the analysis. Together, these four perspectives lead to one question. Do digital common spaces sustain the rational debate that deliberative democracy requires? That is what I set out to test. And now, let me now turn to the method. The data set is nearly 2,000 comments collected from CNN's official YouTube channel from the State of the Union 2026 broadcast. I used an open source tool to retrieve them from the public comment section, and CNN was a deliberate choice as a network with a strong partisan reputation in the eyes of a significant part of the American public. It's an ideal site to observe media distrust in concentrated form. Comments were coded into 5 categories using a rule-based keyword approach. The categories form a spectrum from factual epistemic engagement on one end to emotional and identity-driven performance on the other. One important note here, this is keyword-based coding, not intercoder validated. I treat the findings as indicative patterns, not definitive classifications. I will return to this in the limitations part of my presentation. The results reveal a striking asymmetry. Let me show you the distribution first, then walk through 3 key patterns. The most immediate finding, nearly 50% of comments, more than half, resisted classification altogether. Too short, too vague, or too context-dependent to code reliably. That number tells us something important in itself. The majority of what people write in these spaces doesn't constitute meaningful engagement with political content. Of the coded comments, factual interrogation came at 18.6%, emotional endorsement at nearly 10%, irony and mockery at 9.9%, counter-narrative and media rejection at 3.3%, and public deliberation, the category closest to what Habermas would recognize as genuine democratic discourse, at just 7%. Other slide. Okay. And 3 key patterns. Fewer than 1 in 5 comments engage in any form of factual verification. But there is something more telling within that category. Even these comments were often not engaging with the content of Trump's speech. They were questioning CNN's credibility, sharing alternative links, disputing the network's own fact checks. So, even in the most epistemic category, distrust of the media outlet was already shaping the response. This is the finding I consider most theoretically significant, because comments with phrases like CNN lies, fake news, or biased coverage are not epistemologic critiques. They are identity declarations. Consider this actual comment from the dataset. CNN is so biased, I can't even take them seriously. Their fact-checking needs fact-checking. What is this comment doing? It's not engaging with any specific claim. It's not offering evidence or a counter-argument. It's positioning, telling other readers which side this person is on. Rejecting CNN is not an epistemological act. It's a social one, a declaration of political identity. This is exactly what McIntyre predicts, what Sunstein explains structurally, and what Han describes as the collapse of the truth-falsehood distinction. This trust of institution is no longer a conclusion reached through evidence. It has become a cultural default. Only 7% of comments met our criteria for genuine deliberation. Argument-driven contributions oriented toward mutual understandings. 7% in a comment section of nearly 2,000 people, responding to one of the most significant political events in the American democratic calendar. If Habermas' deliberative ideal is our yardstick, this dataset fails the test, not because the participants are irrational, but because the platform makes deliberation structurally improbable. Let me restate that, not as percentages, but as ratios. Fewer than 1 in 5 comments attempted any factual verification. Fewer than 1 in 14 qualified as deliberative engagement. More than 1 in 2 resisted classification altogether. These numbers describe the dominant reality of political communication in this space. What do these findings tell us beyond the numbers? 3 implications stand out. First, post-truth is a structural condition, not an individual failure. Users are not irrational. They are behaving rationally within a system designed to reward engagement and amplify emotional response. The problem is the architecture, not the people. And then second, media distrust has become an identity resource. Rejecting CNN is not about CNN. It's a signal of political belonging. This matters for anyone working on misinformation. You cannot fact-check someone out of a troubled identity. The interventions need to be social, not just information. Third, participation is not the same as deliberation. Digital platforms expand access, but expanding access doesn't automatically sustain democratic norms. Scale is not quality, reach is not rationality. And before I close, 2 honest limitations here. First, this is a single channel study. CNN's comment section likely overrepresents users who are motivated to comment because they distrust or oppose the outlet. A comparison across channels with different political orientations would make the findings much stronger. And second, keyword-based coding cannot capture nuance. Irony, sarcasm, and context-dependent meaning are difficult to classify through automated rules. These findings open questions. They do not close them. With those limitations in mind, let me close with the core argument. The crisis of truth we are living through is not primarily a crisis of information. It's a crisis of the conditions under which information can function as truth. Platforms, trust, and identity have together reorganized the ground on which democratic discourse is supposed to stand. And here, nobody checks the facts, not because the facts are unavailable, but because checking them is no longer the point. Thank you very much. I am happy to take any questions after the presentation time.
Thank you, dear colleague, for this very interesting topic and a very interesting presentation. I'm sure that we will now open the discussion because all of you who presented your topics, they are so interesting that we can discuss it. I even think until tomorrow, but unfortunately we are limited with time, but I think it will be enough time to open up some of the question. I will that's something that I wrote in the last few minutes for each of you, because it was very hard for me to decide what to ask you, because I created a list of the questions and now I have to, minimize the questions. So let's maybe start with our dear guest from Spain, for Professor Zaragoza Fuster and Professor Cifuentes Albeza. Regarding your research, how do these initiatives that you actually showed us conceptualize minors' agency? How do they perceive young people? Are they vulnerable groups who should need to be protected, or they are active users who are requiring tools for empower themselves? What is your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, is that the campaigns we are and the initiatives that we have analyzed is not they are not focused on minors with problems. It's just like a general, it's like it's general group of population. So maybe the problem is that, as we said before, the segmentation is for us is not well done. It has no sense. This wide range of ages, all in the same purpose. And this is one of the problems that should be focused on specific groups of minors with different initiatives and different media products to be elaborated to affect these youngers. You know what I mean? It's not a question of doing a campaign. It's just checking these groups, these segmentation groups, the necessities and the way they come through. I think that what we checked is that there's not a real impact on what is going on. So it's something that is not well managed. You know what I mean? And maybe because it's not the structure of the campaigns, the objectives, the segmentation of the audience, the different items, they are not well constructed or structured. It's something that, and also what we have found is like differences between the Spanish territory. It's not in all of the regions of the country the same. Not all the regions are involved. There are national initiatives, but not so much. And the ones that are running better are together with private entities. So something is not going on well, And this is something like we wanted to draw a map of the Spanish concern about this necessity of regulating, of making self-conscious families, schools, society in general, because of the absence of law. But right now we are waiting what's going on, because our president told that something is going to change, like maybe like in Australia, that they implemented now the different laws to restrict the access of youngers in this point. So, well, for us, it's the research is important because the contribution has to do with new developments, the future, how to manage these differences, and it has something. I think that our research has a lot of in common with yours about the problem is that different ages, maybe families are not concerned. They don't have this literacy, as you told, to be able to manage what's going on, how to do a proper use of internet and other, products like video games or so on. But this is something that we have to come through to rethink, and and also in the research side to propose new ways of new perspectives to come through this problem or this situation.
Thank you so much. You immediately respond to the second question, so you combined everything. Thank you so much. Okay, in the chat box, we have also the questions from dear colleague, research assistant Mert Demir, regarding his topic. For example, what would you say, does the rise of nobody checks the facts, is the signal the end of rational deliberation, or is it an evolution toward more emotive, pluralistic forms of public debate? What is your opinion? The microphone only.
I would argue it's neither a clean and nor a clean evolution, of course. It's a structural transformation, I believe that, because my data shows that it's, of course, limited data, but we can maybe, in some context, we can generalize it. But my data shows that only 7% of comments in the data set qualified as genuine deliberative engagement in Habermas sense. That is a very small number. We can see that, we can understand this from the data, but I don't think this means people are irrational. They are behaving rationally within a system that rewards emotional response and punishes slow, careful argument. It's a logic of algorithm. Yeah. And nowadays, everything works like this way. That's the reason. And so can we call this pluralism, for example? When we look at the comment section, I think we cannot see any pluralism there. And that's why I am cautious about that word, pluralism, because pluralism implies multiple perspectives. And what I observe is more like parallel monologues. People performing their identities for their own audience, not engaging across difference. I think the data supports that diagnosis.
In your presentation, you actually mentioned the skeptical, maybe in a bit pessimistic attitude towards CNN. How did the collapse of trust in mainstream media come about, and what was the trigger, in your opinion, for that situation?
I think I don't want to be fully pessimistic, by the way. I think a rational debate is still possible, of course. But on this kind of platforms designed to maximize emotional engagement, the architecture really matters, because we are acting in the rules of this architecture. And YouTube comments are structurally probably hostile to deliberation, because other spaces, slower, smaller, more moderated can be. And also they can be still a platform for deliberative dialogue. But in platforms like YouTube, it can be the reason of maybe algorithmic, how can I say, mentality. Yeah, mentality. So I can say that, okay, logic or the dialogical talking is not that, but probably it has been displaced from the center of public communication. Yeah. And until we address the structural conditions here, the platform logic, the algorithmic mechanisms, and fact-checking alone will not bring it back. That's why we cannot argue someone out of an identity, and that is the core problem. That's why probably we have to find better platforms to continue this kind of deliberative discussions together. It's important. And the final thing that I can say, probably algorithm is so decisive here. That's why we have to find some path to defeat it. But I don't know how it can be possible.
Thank you. And one more question for you, because the topic is so interesting and intriguing. What do you think? How do information bubbles and algorithms affect news consumption in your country? Can you relate it to the global developments in the world of media and the politics?
Global, okay. Maybe, yeah, Turkey is a very instructive case in this context. I believe that because we cannot separate it from the other countries, because the mainstream media landscape is heavily concentrated, especially in Turkey, and significant portion of broadcast and print media outlets operates under, unfortunately, ownership structures closely aligned with the government, unfortunately. This pushes a large part of the opposition leaning, or can I say, news, some audience except the ruling party's supporters, and probably YouTube and other social media platform can play role as alternative information sources. But logic is not, algorithmic logic is not neutral. That is the main reason. It rewards engagement, which means it rewards outrage, confirmation, and most of the time emotional intensity. So people escape one form of information control and enter another. That is the problem. Less visible, but we can say maybe structurally just as powerful. And I believe that this is definitely part of a global pattern. We can observe it everywhere. We see the same dynamics, for example, in Brazil, in Hungary, in the United States, everywhere. What connects these cases is platform, maybe we can call it platform capitalism, or this mentality, the business model of maybe attention. And the algorithm doesn't care about the quality of information. It cares about time on platform. This is the key point. And we can probably observe this everywhere in the world.
Thank you so much for your responses and for your comments. Of course, we still have another questions in the chat box from our dear colleague, Associate Professor Nur Emine Ketch, for dear colleagues from Spain, for colleagues Rocío Cifuentes Albeza. Our dear colleagues wrote, thank you for sharing these case studies. Given that these campaigns are specifically designed for minors in Spain, the question is, which elements of these strategies do you think are the most adaptable to other countries or different cultural contexts?
I think that the Spanish case could be a comparative case with another countries. This is something that we want to come through. But even of the differences, I think that the European data about literacy is something should be a good starting point to check about the the different stakeholders, which is something. It's not only the consumer. The fact is that when you are trying to make a certain concern about minors, you have to develop in this. It's more complex because you have to go through families, educational system, context, and this is something that we could. It would be some interesting research to go through, as a drawing at this European map to check this in this case, these differences between these stakeholders and how it's managed by governments, because I think that in the Spanish case is that the government didn't improve enough effort and money to check this case. In the European context, this is something we will get through, not yet, but because we are now centered in the Spanish case, but I think that will be further research that we could go through in the future.
Any questions other for Professor Noor to colleague Rocío Cifuentes?
Thank you. Thank you there, Professor.
Okay, then one question for me. Okay, you mentioned, Tanya, that while Croatian citizens have digital skills above the EU average, there is a significant increase in online fraud victims among both the elderly and the young. Yes, okay. Does this suggest a gap between technical digital skills, knowing how to use the tools, and the critical media literacy, knowing how to evaluate intent? Yes, definitely. I mean, I think that there is also the gap in the methodological approach, how we measure the digital skills. It's not just a question, do you know, open the account on the social media or to buy something from the online web shop. It's much wider than that. And I think that the national methodology is not the same as the European one, because according to the data and research statistics that I showed to you, there is a big gap, not just among different researchers, but definitely on the field, we are witnessing the gap between what people think that they know, even elderly and even young people, and the real state, actually the practical skills. And there is a big gap among elderly and the young people, but the biggest problem is that there is no, how can I say, sharp institutional approach regarding media literacy in this moment. It is everything relied on the enthusiasm of the university teachers and the individuals who actually use their private time in order to non-formally educate the citizens and the young people across their associations, non-formal organization. And I think that we should raise and develop the national strategic approach that will rely on the actually introducing media literacy and digital literacy skills from the elementary school, because the current state in this situation, it's not very good, because if you have the Generation Z and Generation Alpha, that we maybe overestimated them sometimes also regarding digital skills, and who are in the same box of the victims with the elderly people, then this is a very clear indicator that something is wrong in the system, in the educational system, and of course among the skills. Okay, have I replied on that question?
Thank you. It is just like the timing of the 90s of our children time, when TV is all free and everything was free and we didn't know what to do with it as children. Now the alpha generation is like that, and the other generations are going to be like that. So the education should be from the nursery classes, should be starting immediately, I think. Thank you for your answers there.
Yeah, I mean, just one replica. As you see, all those campaigns that are now present in Croatian media in the digital space don't guarantee that the message will come to all stakeholders in the audience, because the elderly don't, use, as the colleagues from Spain emphasized also, they don't use the digital tools. And if the workshops and the webinars are somewhere in the digital space, they will be excluded if you don't come to them directly. And at the same time, the action plans and the strategies are sometimes, the sum of the good wishes, but sometimes it's a problem how to really implement them in order to be valuable and the practical. So there is also the gap between the wishes of the stakeholders and the practical implications. Okay, we have one more question for our dear colleague Mert Demir. Thank you for this provocative presentation. You have highlighted how facts are increasingly ignored in favor of fragmented realities. In your view, I'm so sorry. In your view, has our deliberative discourse shifted from a logical, logos-based framework to purely affective, emotion-based one? If so, is it still possible to have a rational debate when participants no longer share a common factual ground? Interesting questions.
I would say not totally. It's not that logos has disappeared. It's that logos, the mentality, has been subordinated to the identity. People still use, of course, facts, but they select the facts. This is the key. They are selecting what they mention about. They are processing a think really selective, and they select the facts that confirm who they are. So maybe I can say it's not, of course, purely effective either. It's something in between, and perhaps more dangerous than either extreme. It's selective rationality, a kind of selective rationality, we can call it, in service of tribal belonging to some place or some groups, especially political groups. And that's why, as I said before, my data leans in that direction. Only 7%, for example, of comments showed genuine deliberative engagement, and other them is not about the deliberative discussion. That's why maybe I can only say that logos is not dead in the sense of Habermasian, but it has been displaced from the public deliberation. And the only thing that I can say is this.
Thank you.
Okay. Professor has frozen a bit. Okay. I hope that you hear us. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions in this group? Because I see that we have the other participants with us.
I think there is a problem in network connection, or I am having this thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I also see that the professor is still frozen.
I'm going to.
Okay, maybe she will hear us.
Like the metrics.
Okay, maybe she will hear us and then join us again. Any other questions for our participants?
Tanya, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here, but I'm so sorry. I have to leave, and it was really interesting and a pleasure to share this communication in this session 3. And thank you very much.
Okay, you can continue, dear professor. We can hear you. I think that your microphone only left muted. Okay, we lost our colleagues from Spain. I'm so sorry. I didn't have a time to say them thank you for their contribution, but I will join to our WhatsApp group. Thank you, dear colleagues, for your lovely presentations and the works. I'm really looking forward to read the extended version of that and a publication that will be after the conference. It was my pleasure to be the host of this session. This is my 4th conference with ICDC, and I really enjoy every year. I'm honored to be be with you almost every year. Thank you to dear colleague Aguzan, who was a great support all those days and today, especially regarding the technical things. Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to collaborate and cooperate with you. I hope that we will have a chance to continue. Dear colleague Mert, I don't know if this research is part of maybe your doctoral dissertation, but it's very intriguing, very interesting, and just keep going with that. Really, really good.
Thank you so much. And by the way, thank you to the chair for moderating this session, by the way, and to everyone in the audience for their time and engagement. I really appreciated the quality of the questions. They pushed me to think further. Thank you.
Great. Well, this is always the goal, you know, to ask something in order to raise some ideas, maybe for the next conference or how to expand the article. We will see. Thank you all for this unique opportunity. Today is only the second day of the conference. Conference goes further. Tomorrow is a very interesting panel. So if you will have a time to come in live or online, please join. It will be very interesting. Unfortunately, today we missed one colleague, Professor Maurizio Ciantone from Italy. I hope that he will maybe join to maybe some another session, but otherwise, all those hour and a half goes very quickly. I don't know how was it in your perception, but mine goes with like a flow, you know. It was very, very interesting. Thank you so much for your time, for your effort, and for all good energy that you bring to this session. I would like to send you a lot of congratulations to all the organizing committees and all colleagues who are behind the screens and we don't see them like we see all of you. Thank you. Have a nice rest of the day and stay in contact.
Thank
Wish
you,
you all
everyone.
the best.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.